Prologue. Melia's point of view. I leaned back into the plush leather of my chair, crossing one leg over the other as I watched Mr. Rodrigo reluctantly sign over the deed. A small satisfied smile tugged at my lips. "You wouldn't have gotten a better deal, Mr. Rodrigo," I said smoothly, sliding the document toward me. "You made the right choice." He didn't respond, just stared at the paper like it had stolen his soul. I'd seen that look too many times before, resentful, regretful, defeated. It never moved me. This is what I do every day, hunt down the finest estates and property in Paris and claim them. For my family, for Vermont real estate. We've been at the top of this game for over a century, and I've made sure we stay there. Owning is power, and I like power. I glanced at my Cartier watch, 6:30 p.m. My pulse skipped. My twin brother would be home from the States tonight. It had been 3 years. I wanted to be there when he arrived. He was the only person in this world who saw me, not the empire I represented. I stood gathering the papers. "Thank you for your time," I told Mr. Rodrigo, though he barely lifted his head. As I stepped outside, the air was tinged with the earthy scent of the countryside. Twilight painted the sky in hues of rose and steel. The manor behind me disappeared into the dusk as I approached the sleek black car idling at the drive. Perez, our family chauffeur of 20 years, stepped out and opened the passenger door for me. His eyes crinkled with warmth as always. "Thank you, Perez," I said, slipping into the seat. "I think that's a job well done." He chuckled as he started the engine. "You can say that again. Play Dance Monkey, would you?" The familiar rhythm filled the car, and I let my head fall back, shoulders relaxing as I gazed out at the open fields blurring past. I'd made him drive almost 3 hours out here after catching wind that Rodrigo had gone into hiding at his country home. It paid off. But as we cruised down the lonely stretch of road, flanked by trees and fading light, a strange unease crept into my gut. Then I saw it. A single car parked haphazardly in the middle of the road. "Perez, slow down," I said sharply. 2 more cars pulled out from the trees ahead, blocking the road. My heart began to thud. "My lady, I'll go check what's going on." "Wait!" I reached out instinctively, but he was already stepping out of the car. 2 doors opened from the flanking vehicles, men in dark suits, too calm, too sure, and then gunshots. The sound was deafening. My mind rang with it as I watched Perez crumple to the ground. "No!" I scrambled out of the car, pure panic surging in my chest. But before I could scream, run, fight, something hard slammed into the side of my head. Blackness bloomed like ink in water. As I fell, my last thought wasn't of the company, the deal, or even survival. It was my brother. "Please let me see him again," I prayed as I lost consciousness.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
The day I stepped into Montreux, Leah's point of view. I turned toward my husband and pressed a gentle kiss on his forehead. His skin was warm beneath my lips, his expression peaceful in sleep. For a moment, I let myself simply look at him, the man who'd become my anchor in a sea of uncertainty. 6 months ago, my life had been wiped clean. The doctors called it dissociative amnesia. I called it a second birth. Painful, confusing, undesired. Everything before 6 months ago was gone, locked somewhere behind a door I couldn't find the key to. They told me I'd been married for 2 years. 2 years. And yet, when I looked at Blay, it felt both brand new and achingly familiar. He never made me feel broken, never once pitied me. When I'd been scared, when I'd cried for memories that wouldn't come, he held me close and said, "You're enough, Leah. Even if you don't remember a thing, you're still my everything." He promised not to touch me until I remembered our love. That patience, that quiet devotion was the most intimate thing I'd ever known. 6 months of rediscovering life and him had felt like a dream. Today, that dream was about to change. "Remember," Blaze had told me as he adjusted my collar that morning, "your new job will help you feel normal again. You've always been a businesswoman. Once you're back in that world, the pieces will start to fall into place." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to remember who I was. The company was called Montreux, a luxury brand that represented everything dazzling and distant. The kind of place I never imagined belonging to. But Blaze said I'd been made for places like that. I smiled, kissed him goodbye, and promised to make him proud. Montreux headquarters. The building shimmered against the city skyline like a glass crown. I stood before it, taking in the polished marble floors through the rotating doors, the sharp scent of new leather and citrus that filled the air. Everyone who walked past seemed to have somewhere important to be. I adjusted my blouse, took a deep breath, and whispered to myself, "You can do this." Inside, everything gleamed. Gold-trimmed elevators reflected my nervous smile. My hands trembled slightly as I pressed the button to the 10th floor. Just as the doors began to close, they reopened. Someone else stepped in, and the moment I looked up, I forgot how to breathe. He was striking, tall, broad-shouldered, his dark brown hair slightly tousled like he'd run a hand through it moments ago. His suit looked sculpted onto him, his expression unreadable but magnetic. My heart stumbled in my chest. It wasn't normal to be that handsome, and it wasn't normal for my body to react the way it did. "Are you done ogling me?" The deep voice broke through my thoughts. My eyes widened. I wasn't..." He smirked slightly, and the corner of his mouth lifted just enough to reveal amusement. "Sure you weren't." Mortified, I looked away, clutching my purse tighter. I glanced at my ring, that silver promise circling my finger. Blaze doesn't deserve this, I told myself. The elevator climbed in silence. My heart didn't. When the doors opened on the 10th floor, I stepped out quickly, desperate to disappear into the crowd, only to realize he was walking ahead of me and I was following him. Like some love-struck fool chasing after a star she had no right to reach. The CEO. The 10th floor was breathtaking. Glass walls, ivory desks, the subtle perfume of luxury and quiet authority. The secretaries looked like runway models, elegant and efficient. I felt out of place, like a single brushstroke in someone else's perfect painting. Then everyone suddenly stood. "Good morning, sir," they said in unison. The man I'd just shared an elevator with didn't even glance their way. He moved with a kind of effortless power, confident, detached, and fully aware of the effect he had on the room. I froze in my tracks. A nerdy-looking man with warm eyes and square glasses approached him, holding a tablet. "Good morning, sir. Your schedule for today?" He paused when he noticed me. "Oh, and you must be our new hire." "Leah Bloider," I said quickly, my voice smaller than I intended. "Ah, yes," he said, smiling. "Miss Bloider, you'll be working in the CEO's Secretariat office. And this," he gestured toward the man I'd embarrassed myself before, "is Mr. Niall Montreux, our CEO." The words hit me like a jolt. Mr. Niall Montreux. I looked at him, really looked this time. The air seemed to shift between us, charged and heavy. He turned his head slightly, and for a brief second, his gaze locked onto mine. Dark eyes, cold and compelling. And then he looked at me like he was trying to remember something too. Then, as if realizing he'd lingered too long, he straightened his tie. "Leah Bloider," he said calmly, his voice like velvet against steel. "Welcome. Next time, try not to be late. I swallowed. Yes, sir. And then he walked away without another glance, leaving a quiet storm inside me. Settling in, the man with glasses smiled again. Don't mind him, he's always that way. I'm Derek Sanders, head of the secretary team. You speak Mandarin, right? Yes, I said, still trying to compose myself. How? He grinned. That'll come in handy. I'll introduce you to Isabel. She'll show you the ropes. A woman with sleek black hair approached and smiled politely. Come on, newbie, I'll help you get settled. As Isabel explained the details of my duties, I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. I couldn't stop replaying that brief encounter in the elevator. His voice, his eyes, that feeling that I'd seen him before. It didn't make sense, but something about Niall Montreux tugged at a part of me I didn't even know existed. Home. By the time I drove home, the city lights shimmered like distant stars. My head was full, not of tasks or names, but of him. I am married. When I opened the front door, the smell of food enveloped me. Warm, sweet, familiar. Baby, I said, smiling softly. It smells amazing in here. What is it? Blaze looked up from the kitchen. Strawberry pancakes and chicken with sauce. I laughed lightly, the sound easing the tension in my chest. You remembered my favorites. Always, he said, kissing my temple. How was work? Just the first day, I replied, forcing a smile. Learning the ropes. He nodded and served dinner. You'll do great, Leah. Just be careful even when I'm not with you. I smiled again, but something in his words made me pause. Be careful. Later that night, I showered and slipped into bed, exhaustion pulling at my body. But as my eyes closed, it wasn't Blaze's face I saw. It was Niall Montreux, the stranger who looked at me like he'd known me long before I forgot myself. I drifted off to sleep.
Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Nizzy Noir signing out.